You've been on my channel before.
Yeah.
One time to talk about when I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here.
You know, we went to welcome back to Tami Tackles Everything, everybody.
Yeah, what kind of channel is
Sorry.
with no official intro?
You're
Hello.
used to seeing us normally in the car having these conversations, but we're bringing this conversation to Tami Tackles Everything today for two reasons. It's a conversation that, you know, was very interesting to us, and I really want the podcast bug to bite Wayn'e.
She didn't give me any time to think about this or research or deep
Are we
dive.
both in the shot? Come over a touch, babes. Just a little touch.
I'm in the shot.
You
I'm
think we're
properly
good?
in the shot. I can see
You don't
my
feel like
whole...
you're over there a little too much?
Let me
I
see
feel
where
like you
you're...
should come
No, we're
over a touch.
equal.
We went to a music conference the other day. We were invited to be one of the, or two of the panelists. It was about YouTube and, you know, making this your life and career and what that looks like. And, you know, of course, the questions always come up about, you know, all kinds of different things. But I think the one of the big questions that comes up all the time is around authenticity and vulnerability. Two words that I think everybody is tired of hearing, by the way. You know, when people are like, you're so authentic, or, you know, you have to be authentic, or try and, you know, make it more authentic.
Authentic, it means different things to different people too as well. What is authenticity? Just telling the truth about yourself? What is authenticity? Being real to your content, meaning if you're a comedian, you're authentic to the content.
Well, it means being real. It means being genuine. It means, you know, telling the truth about wherever you are or who you are. What I really meant was that people are kind of, what does this look like for me? And I'm so tired of hearing it. Same with vulnerability. I keep hearing I have to be vulnerable. I keep hearing I have to be authentic to create a community, to create a connection, to create, you know, and I think people are sometimes not sure about what that means or what that looks like. So I kind of wanted to talk about vulnerability, for example, and what that looks like even in our relationship, how it shows up in our day-to-day lives, and, you know, what it doesn't mean as well. And something that always strikes me about vulnerability is that people think that being vulnerable and being authentic means that you have to show the worst part of yourself or your life or your situation or your day-to-day. And I think that can be such a tricky, slippery slope, because I think over the last 5 years when it became very trendy, I hate to use that word, but to be authentic, people started to almost pick apart their lives a little bit and to in an effort to be deemed as real. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think people just generally have a lot of bones in their closet hiding away. So automatically, once they think being vulnerable, it would mean to first get rid of all of this baggage that they're walking with, which is usually very heavy. So I think, you know, once they're not digging to the core of the issues that they're dealing with, it always feels like, oh, I'm not really being authentic because I'm just on the surface now. I'm just giving away the bare minimum of me, when the real issues deep down, I have them buried same way, and I'm not willing to be open about these things. And these are the things that, for me, would probably cause the real healing of the wounds that are actually there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are like caught in that little thing where they're being authentic to a point. But holding back the real stuff that is weighing them down.
I think that's what I mean. Like, it's almost like it became trendy to share something that you wouldn't normally share in an effort to be genuine. But then what it really did was, it really, like you said, it didn't really do the trick, so to speak, because at the end of the day, the real value of vulnerability is for yourself. And yes, it helps other people, but the truth about vulnerability is that it's really for you to ease some of that, you know? And it doesn't always have to be something deep, dark, dirty, right?
Right, no, as we said before.
Yeah, I think one of the most vulnerable moments that Wayn'e shared on our blog and continues to share is when he kisses his sons. or his children in general, but especially the boys. I think that was such a vulnerable moment to share. And I say vulnerable because it's something that people can easily maybe pick to pieces if they wanted to. If they don't want to look at it in the right lens, or they can't see the value in it, it's something that they can easily pick apart, which kind of speaks to what vulnerability is. It's that thing that you share that people could easily attack. It's sometimes, I don't want to say weak, because it's not a weak moment, but it's something that you maybe don't necessarily want to share all the time, or you would rather keep private, and that's okay. But if you do share it and have a vulnerable moment, you know it's something that people can instantly pick apart and attack you on. So it's scary.
It's interesting. I never really look at it that way. I always thought that me embracing my sons in that way, kissing them and stuff, never really made me look soft. But also, if I put myself in a different frame of mind, I can see where enough people would be like, yo, what kind of man that a kiss up son and Rere, boy, I don't forget kiss and Rere. But I think that narrative, and I guess I'm helping to change that narrative, the way how me and my boys interact is slowly dying, you know. And I feel like the society that we live in, this hyper masculine society is a part of the problems, you know. The big inflated egos, this is a part of it, you know. The fact that we as men just feel like we need to be always tough,
macho,
and always in control of the situation, always macho. And I think that we as men need a little outlet where we can be emotional and express emotions, and I'm trying to foster that in my children. And I think it just comes out in a way, with the way how I, you know, interact with them, even physically, and not just even emotionally. I think that's like the starting point where we can tell each other we love each other, and we can hug each other and embrace each other. And I want them to have that with each other as well,
and to create that space for themselves,
and create that space for themselves, even though mostly what we get is bare fight and punch and kick, but still they know that the example that they have is with us, and we kind of have that, you know, touchy-feely type of relationship. I feel like it's missing from parenting.
Absolutely.
In the Caribbean and in Jamaica.
I think the point I was getting at is that somebody could, as you said, take that and turn it into a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And it's vulnerable because it's not something that people necessarily always share about. I think also the point I was trying to make is that it doesn't have to be a negative thing that you're being vulnerable about. Sometimes you can be vulnerable about a very positive thing that happens in your life, but you're not necessarily, it's not the norm, or you don't think it's the norm, so you don't share it, you know?
Yeah, true.
I don't think there's enough space for men to be vulnerable. I don't think there's enough space for men to let down their guard. There's not enough space for men as friends to even tell each other that they love them. I tell my girlfriends all the time, I love you, and men never do that, you know? And so those are vulnerable things. Like, again, it's not necessarily a bad or weak thing, is there's just no room for it, you know?
Yeah. For me, vulnerability, I would have to speak more from experience and my experience in being vulnerable, and that came as I evolved and as I matured. The vlog also has been a big part of me being vulnerable. Obviously, we're opening our doors to like thousands and millions of people.
Yeah.
And I know as a youth, certain things that I'm talking about and willing to discuss and expose of myself, I would never think of doing that when I was younger. And now that I am a more mature person, I have experimented with vulnerability, because
I like that.
Yeah, no, vulnerability is underrated, because people never even try to be vulnerable, so they don't even know what it feels like, or what the reaction is, or what the response would be. So I kind of had to step slowly, I had to test the water of vulnerability, and once I did, I found it to be very therapeutic or cathartic, you know what I mean? Like freeing, exactly. It was almost like dropping a weight off of my shoulders, you know what I'm saying? Because you're carrying around these these secrets or these insecurities, or you know what I mean, and you're never discussing it with anybody, finding out what other people may think about it if they're going through this. And most people are going through these issues, and they, once you say that you're going through it, they more have a point of relatability with you, as opposed to something that they can use to take advantage of you, or you know what I mean. Everybody I go through them own little struggles, you know. So I found being vulnerable very relatable. People related to me more.
And you found more people who were going through the same thing as you, so it bounced back to you in a positive way.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point of vulnerability, when you are going to share it, or when you are willing to share it, is support. It creates support. It creates more stories like yours, and it makes you feel less alone. And hopefully it makes the person watching or who you're sharing with, it doesn't have to be done on a forum like this. You could be vulnerable in your family, in your friend circle. You don't have to put it on display.
Yeah, true.
But it will deepen your relationships wherever you go, because that's what vulnerability does. It pulls the veil back a little bit, and it says, hey, I am feeling this.
Yeah.
Can you touch base with that? What I hate are the people who you do actually end up sharing with something, a vulnerable moment about whatever it is, and they act like they've never you know them people that, you know them friend that it's not even a friend so much, but you know, people who can't let down their guard ever. And so that means that they will never want you to see even a dent in their armor. Those aren't my people, you know. And those aren't people that I want deep connection. I want deep connection with my friends and my family, people I love. I don't want on the surface. And I think the older I get, the truer that becomes.
You know, so it's funny you said that, because just the other day I was talking to a friend, and he expressed something that I would have never thought that he would have, and that made me and him more closer brethren than we ever were, because I realized in that moment that he not only is being open in this moment, but trust me.
That's it.
Trust me.
That's it.
Enough to tell me this. And you know, especially when it comes from a man, it's different from a woman. You know what I'm saying? Men are guarded. Men are fully guarded. They're for the most part, men are open when they have to be. When it's like,
you have to pry them open.
Alright, done. The beans don't spill. The beans don't spill. It done gone bad already. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that kind of, I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, I love what you said, that he trusted you to hold that space with him.
Exactly.
And that puts so much, like, it deepens your connection. And it's the same thing that happens in relationships. And the moment that we can let down with each other and tell the truth to each other about ourselves, good, bad, and ugly, it deepens your connection. And it says, can you hold this with me? Can you carry this with me? Can you you know, manage the burden of this also, or even the joy of this also? And
I always feel that with our online community too, as well. Whenever we have those moments when we're just being, you know, outright truthful and just being downright honest and vulnerable in those moments, I feel like in the comment section there is a much more connection with the audience,
that we
you know?
create.
It's like the relationship deepens, you know.
Everybody in that moment has become a little more invested, you know, and protective too. You know?
Exactly.
Because it doesn't mean that there aren't people who just won't get it. There are people who are set away all the time. There are people who just aren't our tribe. You know, and just will not understand what's happening here, and that's totally fine. And the same is true for your friend circles, for you individually. There are just going to be people who aren't for you, and there are going to be people who are committed to not liking you. There are going to be people committed to not seeing your point of view, and that's okay. It just means that I can't have you in my, what we call our inner circle, so to speak, you know. But vulnerability can really deepen your intimate relationships as well. And because, like I said earlier, it gives you an opportunity to really understand and be compassionate. All right, so we've spoken a lot about, you know, kind of our pros of being vulnerable, you know, increased connection, deeper intimacy, trusting each other, psychological relief, the mental health aspect of it. But why is it so hard then? Why is vulnerability so difficult?
I think for the most part, vulnerability is looked on as being weak. So it's looked as a weakness. And where we're from, people a lot of times take your advantage of your weakness, you know? And even if they don't use it now, they write it down. And them have it in them back pocket for whenever you and them mouth meet and them say, "Where? You don't tell me say really true," you know what I mean? They use it against in this way, and you know, a lot of times once bitten, twice shy. So somebody try a fight and then say never again when I tell them people.
The vulnerability that you share with somebody can easily be used against you. It can be used to manipulate you. It can be used to harm you or hurt you. And I think that's like the big con of vulnerability and the biggest reason why people don't do it. Even in relationships, you know, you store it up for a later date, that like an argument that you have, but remember the time when X, Y, and Z are. Remember, some know this about you, you know, so but I try to feel like say. And so it's really quite scary for people to be vulnerable. That's a big con of vulnerability, and a big reason why people stay far from it in their personal lives, in their social lives, in their online lives. You know, guys, it's not easy to put ourselves out there. It's not easy to have to be open to everybody's commentary on everything from what you wear to what you look like to what you do for a living, X, Y, or Z. You know, to why are you feeding your baby this, or why didn't you do that? It's not easy. You can easily fall prey to, before you know it, you're being bullied basically, or you're hearing everybody's opinion about how you're doing something right or wrong. And so I always applaud people who do, because it is actually quite courageous. You know, it's not easy to put yourself out there to then have to hear what everybody may or may not think about you. And I can hear so many people maybe even saying, well, this is what you sign up for when you do X, Y, and Z. And the truth is, while that is partly true, nobody signs up to really be bullied or to, you know, have negative commentary thrown at them.
And that's why we carefully try to cultivate our online following, and we set boundaries. And if we see anybody stepping outside of those boundaries, there's always that BLOCK button, the block button, that if you are, it's so much like antagonistic, where you can tell this person is not our tribe, not our crew, not our wider circle or inner circle. You know, don't afraid for X them out of the system. You know what I'm saying? But you alluded to that earlier. There are some people who are not a part of the inner circle. You don't have to be open and honest with them. You know what I'm saying?
And this is our house, in a sense. Like whatever space or community you set up, whether, like I said, it's online or just in your life, you have to always consider that your space. And if you would not allow somebody to stand in front of you and spew negativity at you, you should certainly not allow that to happen anywhere else either. I know that we can't stop all of it. I know that we can't, block everybody who does it or prevent that from happening. And we're certainly not opposed to constructive criticism. But once it becomes outright mean, hurtful, or harmful, that's just a boundary that we have to build. But again, it's part of the price that you may pay for putting it out there, you know?
True.
But it's not a deterrent for me.
I was just about to say, it's not going to stop me from being myself.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not going to stop me from sharing my experiences.
Don't you feel like that's been the practice though? Like even with the vlog, it's been like the practice, like showing up as yourself, as you are.
Yeah.
That has been, and I think that's the goal of everybody, is that they get to be who they are, whether you like it or not. I'm showing up as me, you know. And it's crazy how people can get into your head. I'm not even talking about the internet at this point. I'm just talking about in general. Somebody you might have a conversation with. It happens to me all the time. Somebody might say, Tami, look where your belly big. That can live in my head for way longer than it should. And every day I've had to learn how to let those things go and show up as myself, who I am, and figure out who that is.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have it all figured out. I'm still the guy who will take on one bad comment out of 1,000 comments 999 comments, all good, all positive, all motivating, all inspiring. And then that one bad comment and it
Festa,
have you.
Do you know why that is though? And it's really, I was doing some reading about this, and I listen to a lot of podcasts around anything like this, but a part of that is because it is in some way, shape or form, that's our internal chatter. You know, if you ever really tune into what you are saying about yourself, a lot of the times it's not the greatest things. And so they say sometimes when people say those things, it's almost as if it connects with a part of you that you fear is truly true about yourself, or that you don't like about yourself also, or maybe they are seeing something. It's like your fear, you know, showing up in this way, and somebody has seen that and it just doesn't feel good. But it's insecurity. That's what it is, you know. I mean, it's been highlighted to me how many insecurities I have after being. Remember, you know, guys, we haven't just been on the internet this week. In other words, we have been subject and open to what others think about us always, whether it was being written in a newspaper or on a tweet, you know.
Even trying to be successful on YouTube, I've been trying to do that from the inception of YouTube. I just realized that since being on the forum the other day, and I was doing some little research, and I realized YouTube was started in 2005. So I've already been in my musical career for 5 years, waiting for these platforms to come out so I can push my music. So I have literally been on YouTube since the inception, trying to push music, trying to get the best visuals together, whatever, you know. So it's, as you say,
it's not today.
And not today. We're exposing ourselves to online.
Do you feel like people have gotten meaner, or what do you think it is? Like, do you think that people, like, sometimes I look at, like, you know, different platforms, and different platforms call for different things. I mean, I feel like our YouTube platform has been the friendliest, the kindest, the warmest.
Absolutely.
I think Instagram too, actually. I have not spent a lot of time on Facebook because, you know, I will go there back and forth. It's not my main. Instagram is mine. But I don't venture into Twitter much at all because it's just a different type of conversation. But do you feel like people just have gotten, I don't know, like they just feel like it's okay? Like I would never go on somebody else's page and say some things that I've seen said, not even just on my page, but on other people's page. And I'm just like, what is going on here?
Guess what? Most people wouldn't do that either.
To your face.
With their real account.
Okay.
So some people have
I don't even if I don't figure people like it.
No, but I'm saying
it's mean.
But most people are attacking people with fake accounts.
Yeah.
So it's not something that will lead back to them, the real person. So them have a next little account where them go up on and them troll.
Yeah.
And them do them nastiness on that account.
Yeah.
And then them hide.
Yeah.
Because it's the disguise, right? It's the veil that you can pull down on the internet and be whoever you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So people do that.
Yeah, people
That's a real thing.
Listen, it's not that I'm trying to censor anybody. You are allowed to do, think, and feel what you want. I always just feel like we get met with this idea, well, you put yourself out there, well, you feel like everybody must like you. It's okay for people to say if they don't like you too. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it important?
Right.
There's plenty of things I don't like. I mean, just keep it moving.
And there's a way to voice your as you say, your criticism or whatever constructively or with taste or with respect, you know. And there's a way where you know this person is trying to make you have a bad day.
Yeah.
Once you see this comment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I draw the line, and that's where I kind of, you know.
Yeah. So I used to leave up all those things all the time, and Wayn'e was the one who said to me, you know, like, I remember I'd want to answer the person who said something mean, and you would always say to me, before you answer that person who has said something unkind to you, I hope you will answer all the people who have said something nice to you first. And give them that same energy.
Same
and I was like, you know,
response energy. Yeah.
That's true. And that's true in our real lives. You know, sometimes you might have somebody who, you know, throws you off center, but you'll have all these other people who maybe, you know, rooting for you and wanting you to do well.
Absolutely.
Reach out and call those people before you want to take on this one person and make them decide if your day is a good day or a bad day.
Right,
you know.
Right.
So I guess my next and maybe one of my last questions today would be: is vulnerability powerful?
Vulnerability is absolutely powerful. It has changed my life. It has changed my outlook on life. I used to fear losing control of my insecurities, in a sense, by exposing them, by expressing them. Then I realized that nobody really cared.
Yeah.
So all this was just in my mind, where I thought that people were like,
and those people do exist, but they're just not coming into your orbit.
But at the same time, even if they exist, they're still going through their issues too.
Yes.
And they don't have time to point fingers when they have issues to correct of their own.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes. If they're really looking into it,
Yeah, no man, real talk, you know. A lot of them pointing fingers, they don't have no perfect life. If you look at most of them who are like, disrespectful or trying to spew hate or
hurt people,
you know, or hurt you because of your inadequacy or whatever. You're looking after them life, you know.
And it looks worse on them than look at you to make fun of your insecurities or your,
It really does. And in my experience, I've found that there's nobody out there pointing fingers. People are trying to find solutions with you, laughing with you and laughing through
or even comfort you.
Comforting you, you know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you something then. If you were to say to somebody to try vulnerability, as you said, you experimented with vulnerability. What's a way for even men to try vulnerability? Like, where's a good place to start?
A good place to start is just conversation with your brethren, your closest part of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have an issue that you're stressed about, under pressure with. What do you mean? Show your brethren and you and him talk it out, you and him reason about it, and then you see where it go from there. So, you know, once you're dealing with a real friend, there is no harm.
Wicked, hold on.
Once you're talking to a real friend, there can be absolutely no harm in expressing yourself, telling this man what you're going through, the issues, what you know what I mean, whatever is stressing you, whatever you have, I hold you back, I hold you down. You know what I'm saying? You'd be surprised. You would be surprised.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised to see how, as Wayne said earlier, it would deepen your connection with that person. How they in turn might be like, yo, you know, sir, X, Y, and Z. I really like your idea about experimenting with vulnerability. And I think that vulnerability has really been life-changing for you, certainly for me. Our relationship, I feel like it's transformed our relationship. I think we've been very good at being vulnerable all these years, but I feel like our vulnerability has or our intimacy has taken and when I say intimacy, I hope nobody mistakes that.
Hello now. You're going in a different podcast,
no.
Kama Sutra.
Intimacy is not sexual. I'm just saying, I feel like it has deepened our relationship and our understanding of each other and our compassion for each other. And we now know where some of those issues may stem from or come from. And so we can really use that to grow our relationship and not weaponize it, you know, and make it be that one will have control or power over the other. It's amazing to see you put that on display for your children. And I think it is only something that will continue to serve us in our personal lives. And I think then broader, hopefully our community at large, you know. It's a really great topic, and it's one that you can have with your friends, with your family. See where you are cutting off vulnerability in your life and where you might actually be closing the gate on something. And you'd be surprised that if you could just pivot a little and open up that door a little, you could let so much flow through your life, and it may actually be just a thing to propel you to another stage, another level of your life, you know? Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Mitchell?
Well, just to reiterate how, you know, being authentic and me testing out vulnerability has been therapy for me. It literally has been therapy for me, and I feel like men in general are, you know, carrying a lot of weight, not letting down their guard enough to express themselves, and just really sometimes it's a garbage. You carry around a garbage bin and you just want to empty it. When you empty it, you're lighter and you're better and you're cleaner, and you know what I mean, you're freer for do your thing.
And you don't have to empty it all at once.
You don't have to empty it all at once at all, but you just have a exhaust, have a little valve where, you know what I mean, you can just go and shove out there.
And practice it.
Yeah. No, real talk, man, real talk. No joke, no joking.
I love that. Great conversation. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, you know, even though I keep calling this a podcast, or I'm not even sure what this is, it's really conversations. I'm not interviewing anybody. When is that, you know what I mean? It's about having this conversation that can help to grow us all and maybe highlight something for you. Maybe you learn something. Maybe we have aha moments while we're sitting here talking to each other or others. And, you know, the whole idea is that we grow and expand, not just as individuals, but as a whole. So thank you so much for sitting with me and chatting with me. I appreciate you. I love you.
I love you too.
I just, I can come on your podcast immediately.
Yeah, of course. Okay. What do you mean?
If you guys want to leave a name for Wayne's podcast, okay, if Tami tackles everything.
Yeah.
What we can call it? Don't know yet?
Wayne's World.
All right.
I joke. No, something. I need a name. It's not Wayne's World. Find something. The YouTuber in me wants to say, drop a comment and tell us how you feel about it. Because we'll talk about a whole heap of things.
YouTube channel.
And we want to know
what you guys think. Chime in. You know, we're going to be in the comment section, and I love that you guys will be in the comment section with each other. And that's another thing we've seen is how people support each other in the comment section of our vlog, and it happens over here at Tami Tackles Everything.
And not just the females alone, man. Come
on, man. Let's hear from you.
Man them. Come on. Make up a crease in a dog.
Let's just
do it. Let's
just try. Let's just try. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week right here on Tami Tackles Everything. Mwah.